Welcome everyone. We're just going to get started in about 1 minute. All right, welcome everyone. Tonight is our first virtual meeting for the Markham Centre Secondary Plan Update. And the purpose is to hear your input on what you wish to see in Markham Centre, your downtown. Tonight's session is being recorded and live streamed on the city's YouTube channel. The recording will be made available afterward on the Your Voice Markham website. And we ask that you keep your camera turned off until the breakout session portion of the meeting, which will not be video recorded. And to limit audio feedback and improve the sound quality for all participants, please keep your microphone muted unless called upon to speak. We recognize that in Markham, we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples, including the Anishinaabe, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, the Huron-Wendat, and the Haudenosaunee. We recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land, and we are grateful to all Indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources. We are committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. Mayor Scarpitti will begin the evening with some opening remarks, so I invite the mayor to unmute and begin.
Well, thank you very much, Danielle, and a wonderful way to start off with the land acknowledgement. And certainly, we're very fortunate to be here in this part of the world, and I think more than ever, there's a deeper appreciation of the great land that we're in and on. And so, thank you for that wonderful start. I want to welcome all of you this evening. And before I start, and I apologize, I don't have all the names of councillors, so maybe as either the occasion arises or we notice one of the councillors are here. I took a quick scan as I was going across my screen here, and certainly want to welcome Regional Councillor Jim Jones, who's here. Regional Councillor Jones is the chair of our Development Services Committee, and actually want to give him another shout out in just about 30 seconds here. And I know we also have Ward 3 Councillor Reid McAlpine, who's now the local councillor for this area. And I see Ward 6 Councillor Alan Ho, who actually chairs our Economic Development Committee. Now, I apologize if there's others. I may, if I notice them, or Danielle, you notice them, as you're scrolling down. I don't mind if you scroll down while I'm talking. That's okay. Go ahead and scroll. And if you notice anyone else here, I'd love to acknowledge them. And certainly welcome to all of our community members. It's great to see everyone, even though it might be virtually. It's wonderful how our community has certainly remained connected, not just through technology, but certainly it's been a large part of making sure that we're able to stay connected, share information, and continue to do many things in our community. And welcome all of you to this, the first meeting of a kickoff for a series of different meetings that we'll have, virtual public meetings for now, that we'll be hosting throughout the summer and certainly into the fall. It's an opportunity, obviously, tonight to hear some more feedback from the community. Certainly, Markham Centre was actually born out of community consultation, and some of it certainly was bumpy, not just from the public, but even from some of the original landowners in the area about what vision we wanted to create. And I said I would give another shout out to Regional Councillor Jim Jones, but I do want to thank him because he was the ward councillor actually back in the 80s when we then, the town of Markham, were actually participating in the Toronto bid to attract the 96 Olympics to our community and to be a part of that bid. And so I think we all know Toronto didn't get that bid, and certainly Atlanta, Georgia did. But at the time, we were actually trying to get Tennis Canada to come and develop a center here along with a major field house that was going to be the venues in Markham. But after that whole process was over, Jim and certainly the mayor at the time, Tony Roman, myself, I think I was chair of planning back then, started to really talk about the fact that there was this hole in the donut, that there'd been all this land in the center of Markham. I would say the center meaning the whole town, now city, back then. And it was really land that had been frozen. There couldn't be anything happen on it because of what was known as the Parkway West Belt plan. And the land was frozen because the 407 had to be designed. They didn't know how much land was going to be required for that, among other utilities that were going in the area. And when we came to the realization that we had this land, we thought, well, we didn't necessarily get the venues for the Olympics, but is there an opportunity here to embark on the planning of this area that creates something different than the rest of Markham? And so began the process to begin to design and look at ways that we wouldn't just have, hundreds or thousands, however many you might be able to fit of low-rise single-family homes, but to actually create a focus, a central point, an area of destination where we'd have different development. So Jim, here we are these many years later, and hard to believe that Markham Centre is beginning to actually take shape. And really, this is where we are at. Like any plan, every once in a while, and this is certainly long overdue, you need to step back and say where the elements of what we put together in the first place, obviously you protect those. Are there things that have changed? And certainly there's a lot that's changed in this area, and we'll touch a little bit about what has happened in the area. But no doubt, we still stay committed as a council, and I believe as a community, to create an opportunity here to have a vibrant urban downtown that certainly serves the needs of our community, people that do look for different types of housing, and there's different reasons maybe for that. Now, at one time, it was because of the empty nesters wanting to stay within our community. Now, because of the cost of land and the cost of housing, we need that diversity in housing for a whole range of people. And there's no doubt that Markham is and continues to be a place that grows, evolves, and is becoming that place of destination, a place where there is going to be sustained economic growth, both attracting businesses and certainly residents and institutions. And it's quite telling that several years later, while Markham Centre may have been born out of the quest to get an Olympic venue, we had the opportunity to actually place a Pan Am facility with the Pan Am Games. And so we have many respects have come full circle. And that Pan Am Centre, I think most know where it's located. And probably most of you, but if you didn't, if you somehow missed the news of last Friday, something that our community has been working on for the past several years, while it's been somewhat of a roller coaster ride, we crossed the finish line last Friday, an announcement that York University campus is moving forward, is being built, and it will be situated right next to the Markham Pan Am Centre, just west of that facility, obviously centrally located and within a few minutes walk to the Unionville GO station, which in itself will also undergo a transformation as a hub, because you're going to see 15-minute train service there. Obviously, the Viva transit system will connect directly into that station, along with York Region Transit and along with the GO bus service as well. That hub will continue to grow. And just very quickly on York University, in many respects, it certainly speaks to the type of community that York University wanted to be in the city of Markham, in Markham Centre, because of the vision that's there, but also the incredible transformation that will happen with the people that have already moved here and continue to move here. We're going to see an incredible growth of students aged 18 to 22, over 34% growth in that age demographic between now and 2041. So pretty exciting announcement last Friday. Construction, if you didn't see, if they're not on there already today, they're going to be there in short order, starting the construction of that campus, and the doors will open in fall of 2023. And it really, as I said, fits with the vision that we have for the whole area of Markham Centre. And Danielle, you've got the map up, and I always try to, verbally tell people where the boundaries are of Markham Centre. But generally speaking, from Warden Avenue, a little bit west of Warden Avenue, north of the 407. I don't know if your mouse is working, but if you could actually kind of follow the 407, if it is working there, I think people will see it on the bottom end of that red area. So the 407, Warden to the west, you've got Kennedy Road to the east, and essentially Highway 7 to the north. In that area, when we first started planning Markham Centre, the projection was going to be that 40,000 people would live in Markham Centre, and another 40,000 people would work there. And again, it's a live, work, play. So it provides a place to live, a place to pursue a career, a place to now seek higher education, certainly places of destination like the Markham Pan Am Centre, among the many restaurants and attractions that will continue to be built in the area, building on what is already there. I don't necessarily see it very well in this map, but again, Danielle, if you could take your mouse, we're fortunate in this area. Not many downtowns have a beautiful river running through it, and we have the Rouge River, and this is a wonderful, beautiful green space that is a real gem in the Markham Centre area. And as I indicated in my inaugural address at the beginning of this term, we are embarking on starting the trail system that will connect Warden all the way over to Birchmount and beyond. So we've started the environmental assessment so that not only can we see and enjoy the beauty of the Rouge River, but actually enjoy the pathway system through the valley. So this is going to be a place, as I said, we may have started out many years ago thinking, well, we'll build some condos here so that the empty nesters will have a place to move to. It has quickly transitioned to becoming a place where young people are buying their first home and starting their families. And in fact, if you've had the timing of being there prior to the pandemic, when school would start in the mornings, you're starting to see a lot of short people come out of those buildings in the morning with knapsacks lining up to get their buses. So it's becoming a very, very vibrant community. Now, the key to the successful development of the area really is because of the transportation system. So Danielle pointed out 407, which is along the bottom of the red area. Just to the west, many of you know, we have Highway 404. So we have two major provincial highways. You have seen the development of the Viva transit system with the bus rapid transit lanes. And those lanes will come right through the heart of Markham Centre as it dips down into town center and then runs across essentially Enterprise out to Kennedy Road. But as I said, we'll connect to the GO station, which is defined as a mobility hub. And here we're going to see 15-minute service. And so when you get to that level of service, you're almost at a subway-like system. And again, when you think of 40,000 people living here and another 40,000 people working here, that's the type of infrastructure that's going to be required to service the area. Now, the plan for Markham Centre began in the early 90s, and over the years, we are seeing the vision come about with residential, with retail, commercial, multi-residential development, and some of those points of destination, everything from the Pan Am Centre to that incredible complex with the theaters. And as you know, there's big dreams about trying to build some more places of destination in Markham Centre. And I think with time, those will happen. The City of Markham's official plan does encourage a range of mix of housing types and support for the diversification of the housing stock in our community. Now, while we're doing this particular secondary plan, I can tell you it's not the only one that we're reviewing. Aside from Markham Centre, we're also doing the Milliken Centre secondary plan, which is down at Kennedy and Steeles, and also the Markham Road, Mount Joy as well. And all of these reviews will develop a framework and policies as we move forward to see what, if any, changes, and making sure that the vision that we first created is going to be followed through. And obviously, you know, we never thought, even when we began Markham Centre, that we would see the types of issues that we have with providing affordable housing in this community. So the range of housing has become the need for that range of housing has become even greater. And very pleased to say that the landowners, the developers within the area are now embracing this vision. It wasn't always that way, as Regional Councillor Jones will remember. Back in the day, some developers said no one will ever buy a condo in Markham, back then the town of Markham. You guys are you know, you got wild dreams here about condominium buildings being built and people actually buying them. Well, we've seen that that in fact is happening. And I can tell you, as of last Friday, as we've seen in this area, anytime there's plans for something new, it creates a bit of a momentum in the real estate industry. And both notionally, people who've contacted me, and I've seen the activity on social media, again, there's a bit of a frenzy happening once again in the interest in this area with the announcement of York University. The other area that we're also reviewing is the Cornell Centre, and that's out by the 9th Line and Highway 7. Again, interesting enough, Markham Centre, this area, and Cornell Centre, we engaged Andres Duani, a planner, architect out of the United States, and he helped create the vision for these both vibrant communities. The densities, obviously, in Cornell are not quite as high as Markham Centre, although there's some parts, again, next to transit that are a bit higher density out that way. So really, as we move forward, we're creating the diversification in housing stock. We're creating different types of communities that will attract talent to this community. Markham continues to see investment come to this area. We're blessed already by having over 1,500 technology and life sciences companies that provide almost 40,000 jobs just in that sector alone. And Markham still continues to build on its foundation, being the second largest IT cluster in all of Canada. And I'll tell you, with the announcement of last week, it's certainly when GM opened their Canadian Technical Center here a couple of years ago, that certainly solidified our positioning. And with Friday's announcement, that position will continue to be solidified with growing more talent right here at home through the programs that will be offered by York University. So Markham Centre was born out of public consultation. It was bumpy, and I'm sure this will be bumpy at times too, because that's what planning is about. It's about sometimes thinking outside the box, tough to wrap our heads around the future, particularly when you're talking sometimes 20, 30 years down the road. And even, as I said, when we began Markham Centre, even those that were totally immersed in the development industry thought there'd never be a condo sold here in this area of the world. And we're seeing that that's absolutely the case. We're selling condos. But more importantly, at the end of the day, and I've always said this about Markham Centre, I do not want it to be a collection of high-rise buildings with no community. So that urban design, what people feel and see and experience on the ground, is extremely important to me. And I know it is important to our council as well. That's why we're making investments in the Rouge Valley Trail. That's why, and I applaud Remington for the investments that they've made in public art, and they're going to be doing more. We want this to be a place where people just don't drive into their underground garages, go up to their 500 to 800 square foot condominium, watch their big screen TV, and go right back down to their parking garage the next day, and off to work they go. No, we want to create a community here for the people that will live and work here. And we also want to create a place of destination. And I'll say that the feedback from the community started a few months ago, where we asked the community to participate through Your Voice Markham .ca, and we got a lot of different ideas. It was done through that particular technology, but it was also opportunities when we were actually on the ground, either at community events or at Markham Centre itself, getting feedback from people what they wanted to see. And so we had over 1,600 visitors, lots of great ideas. Over 2,300 people were reached through that engagement exercise over a span of 16 weeks. And really what we want to kick off tonight is further consultation, taking some of the ideas we heard over the past several months, and also the feedback that we get tonight, and in some ways reminding ourselves what the vision of Markham Centre is all about. I can find it anywhere from amusing to maybe sometimes frustrating that people that have actually even moved into Markham Centre haven't realized what they've moved into. So they live in a condominium, and from time to time, when another condominium is being proposed, they will come out to public meetings and comment on the fact that another condominium is being built in their neighborhood. Well, and that's their right to do that. And it's good that we get that public participation. But it's also, I think, useful for us to remind ourselves, what is it about the vision that inspired us to create this area, and how do we continue to move forward? And as I said, sometimes even for people who live in the middle of the community, don't appreciate the vision that we're trying to create that will last for certainly in developing it for the next 10 to 20 years. And obviously it will be around for generations to come. So what we do, how we do it, what we create is extremely important. And again, thanks to our council for their ongoing commitment, not just tonight, but through all of the policy decisions and investments that we've had to make on behalf of the community. Over $50 million worth of land to get York University here. When we do that, that's an investment on behalf of our community, which we think will serve our community well. And that's why nights like tonight and many nights more are extremely important as we create this spectacular vision for an important part of our city. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to you, Danielle. And again, thank you to everyone for coming out on a beautiful summer's night when we could maybe be outside. Maybe some of you are. I'm looking at your backgrounds here, and I think I might just go out back myself if this is permitted to. We don't have to be inside. We can be outside and actually enjoy some of the beautiful weather while we're participating in the meeting. But I thank everyone for coming out tonight. Thanks, Danielle.
Thank you, Mayor Scarpitti. I'll now introduce Commissioner Arvinprasad to say a few words. Feel free to unmute and turn on your video if you wish.
Thank you. Can you hear me, Danielle?
Okay, yep.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that great overview and the history of Markham Centre. Good evening to everyone that's joined us today. I know there's about, last I looked, there was 114 people on this Zoom call. So we're looking forward to a really good session. My name is Arvinprasad, and I'm the Commissioner of Development Services at the City of Markham. So when you think of downtowns, what do you think of? You heard from the mayor that what we shouldn't think of, and I hope we don't think of, is that a downtown is a collection of high-rise buildings. I think of downtowns as vibrant urban centers, someplace that I would like to be, to explore and to experience. I think of easily getting around and having lots of shops and services within walking distance. When experiencing a downtown, I want to be excited. I want to get things done, and I want to be in a place where I can relax with my family and friends. So the question for people on the line today is, what do you think of when you think of Markham downtown? The mayor has challenged us tonight to think outside the box, because Markham Centre is our downtown. It's special. It has evolved from an area that was primarily agricultural to an area that is now home to the Pan Am Centre, Markham Civic Centre, Markham YMCA, Cineplex and retail shopping, Unionville Go, and of course the Pride of Canada Carousel, to name a few. Markham Centre is also home to thousands of Markham residents and many businesses, and it's just growing. So it is anticipated that Markham Centre will continue to grow and evolve over the next several years. And we want you to help us shape its future. So as I mentioned before, when you think of a downtown, what do you think of? We hope to hear from you over the next several months as we update the Markham Centre secondary plan. So Danielle, that's it for me. I just wanted to provide a few words of introduction, and I'll let you get on with the agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, everyone. Well, good evening, and I echo the mayor and the commissioner in thanking you for tuning into this remote meeting. My name is Danielle Narcics. I am a planner with Gladke Planning Associates, and I'll be your lead facilitator today. As many of you know, we're updating the Markham Centre secondary plan to develop a vision and development options for the future of Markham Centre. Joining me today are my colleagues on the consulting team, including John Gladke, Andrew David, Brent Raymond, Renee Biberstein, and Francois Tomeo. We also have a number of staff from the City of Markham on the line, and our full team is identified here on Zoom as co-hosts. Our plan for the next 2 hours is to understand what brings you to Markham Centre, speak to the purpose of the secondary plan update and how Markham Centre has evolved, answer and clarify any questions you may have, and hear from you regarding your wishes for the future of Markham Centre. We'll do this through a short presentation followed by a Q&A session and then small group breakout discussions. On your screen in a moment, you'll see a quick poll, and we'd like to know what brings you to Markham Centre and whether you've already had the opportunity to engage with the secondary plan update. So we'll get that poll going, and I invite you to complete that poll now. We'll give you a few moments just to answer those 2 quick questions and give us a sense of what brings you here and your involvement so far. Okay, I see about 2/3 have already participated. So please keep going and we'll keep that poll open. But I'll now invite John Gladke to present. John is the lead consultant on the project here. If you have questions during the presentation, please submit them by sending a message through the Zoom chat to the participant labeled Ask a Question. And I'll invite John to take it away and unmute and take it away. I think, John, if you would just like to unmute yourself, turn on your video, it should be good to go. There we go. Should be good, John.
Okay. I can't see the presentation on my screen. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. So I have to figure out how to see.
We can see you might need to minimize the Zoom chat that we're in, or the Zoom window, just to go back to your other window. You might be.
Yeah, I have minimized it. And Zoom share. Here we are. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Sorry about that little glitch. Good evening to the mayor and the councillors and all the members of the public and the staff as well. My name is John Gladke, as Danielle said, and my firm, along with a number of other firms, are working with the City of Markham on the update to the Markham Centre secondary plan. The other members of our team are DTA, who are urban designers, Ken Greenberg, who's a world-renowned urban designer and planner, Stantec, who are the municipal servicing experts, and Steer, who are our transportation experts. What I'm going to do in this presentation, I have to emphasize, this is an introductory presentation. We're just starting our work. We haven't done any analysis or assessment of what's going on, but we would like to get your initial input on the kinds of issues that you see. Mayor Scarpetti has done a very good job of touching on a lot of the elements that I was going to talk about. So I could probably skip some of them, but I'll continue on. No, I can't move my screen.
So John, maybe try with your keyboard going left, right. It might act up a little bit less than with the clicking.
Yeah, I'm doing, oh, here we are. Okay, I was just stuck for a bit. Okay, so this was the image that you saw earlier of the location of Markham Centre. It's positioned within Markham, near the southern edge of Markham, but it's near Highway 404, as the mayor said, and Highway 407. It's pretty well located, and there are a number of arterial roads that run through the area: Woodbine Avenue, Warden Avenue, and Kennedy Road. Main Street, Unionville is, and the Unionville historic area is just to the north of Markham Centre. Screen is not cooperating here. Okay, so the area of Markham Centre, the original area is outlined in blue, and you can see it. It runs from just a little bit east of Roddick Road, north of Highway 7, then along Highway 7, over roughly to Kennedy, and south to the 407. There were three small areas that were added when we started this work. One was at the corner of Kennedy and Highway 7. Another was the Markham Town Centre at the corner of Warden and Highway 7. And a third area was just a little bit east of Roddick Road. There were two other areas that were added by council in May. A number of auto dealers just east of Kennedy Road, and the first Markham Place and Smart Center Woodbine were located there. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about what a secondary plan is. Why do we do secondary plans? And then talk a little bit about why we need to update the Markham Centre secondary plan. So here's an image of what Markham Centre looked like when the planning started for this area back in 1994. There were some developments. The Markham Civic Center was located there already. The Flato Theatre was is located there, and the Hilton Hotel was located here as well. But mostly it was undeveloped. So what's a secondary plan? A secondary plan is a fabric that knits the community better. It brings together development with public improvements that are needed to support living and working in the area. It's an overall planning framework that makes sure that all new development is synchronized with such things as transportation improvements. And I have to emphasize that the vision for Markham Centre, and the vision that certainly we hold for Markham Centre, is that it will be a place at the end of the day where people can choose to walk or cycle, and if they choose not to use a car, they don't have to use a car. That's the vision for Markham Centre. Public transit is a very important component in that. Now, individual developments can be built with the road system as it is and with the transportation improvements that are in place. But when you put all these developments together that are underway or that have already happened, you need a transportation network. You need something that binds all of this together and provides a framework for development. Parks and open spaces. So a key for a secondary plan is to make sure that there are spaces, like the mayor said, that people can enjoy and be excited by. And in Markham Centre, as the mayor said again, there is this wonderful resource, which is this green spine or green lungs that runs through the area. It's a terrific environmental resource, but to date, it's been underappreciated and underused as a place for people to access nature and to enjoy nature and to explore the unique features of this area. Community services and facilities are also an important part of a secondary planning process. Markham Centre now has a number of large community centers, large community facilities, but the kinds of facilities that we need to talk about as well are the small schools and the daycare centers and the libraries, the DNA that holds the neighborhoods together. This is what Markham Centre is, at the end of the day, going to have in place for various neighborhoods. The community facilities need to be planned as part of a secondary plan. They need to be located, and their initiatives, the initiatives to build them need to coincide with development activity. Then there are, of course, the development opportunities, and there has been development, as we know, in Markham Centre. Here's some wonderful examples of buildings that are in Markham Centre. You'll notice that they're quite a bit different. There's different architecture, there's different built form. And the purpose of a secondary plan is to somehow bring together these developments that are built individually by private developers into some kind of cohesive whole, so that people can consider this a place that they call home. Placemaking, perhaps the most critical part of what a secondary plan is about, is creating places that people will love and get excited about, and that they will want to come and linger and explore. At the end of the day, the secondary plan looks like this, or part of it looks like this. There are maps. They're a bit dull. They sort of show that we expect a mix of uses in the area. But in order to really understand what's behind the plan, you have to get behind the maps, and you have to understand the policies and the kinds of initiatives and implementation actions that are going to help deliver the kind of neighborhood that we all want to see in this area. In Ontario, we also have a provincial planning framework, and the Place to Grow plan, which is a plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, is an important component of that. Markham Centre is identified as a growth center, so it's one of the most important areas within this entire Greater Golden Horseshoe. A growth center has a number of obligations in terms of intensity of development to address environmental issues, sprawl, etc., but also to create complete communities, the kinds of things that I've been talking about. So we will, as we go forward, need to pay attention to the policies of the provincial plans. So what is a secondary plan? The secondary plan for Markham Centre needs to have a progressive vision. It needs to be a place, it needs to create a place that people can choose to walk if they want to, that people can choose not to use a car if they want to. It needs to be a place where at the end of the day, it's exciting and vibrant. And we have the added challenge here, as the mayor has pointed out, of creating a downtown. Now, the Markham Centre area, in our opinion, is too large to be all of it a downtown. The focus, we need to find a focus for where that downtown is going to be and what the characteristics of that downtown is going to be. And we need your help for that. So just to now talk about why we need to update the Markham secondary plan. Here's the original secondary plan. In our view, it's a very progressive plan. It was prepared by Duane Plater Zyberg, and it very well-known American planning and architectural outfit. And so what we need to do is not reinvent the vision from this plan, but to reestablish it given the new circumstances. Figure out which policies have worked, which policies need to be updated, where development has happened the way we expected it to happen, and how it can be improved. And I just want to draw your attention to a couple of things. You notice that Enterprise Road is shown as a very straight line through this area. So that's a feature. I'll come back to that later on. And then the pockets of development. So this pocket here, and then along Highway 7 over here near Warden, and then west of Warden as well. So these pockets of development are areas that have already been developed and where we've seen some of the aspects of the plan come to fruition. But Markham Centre has changed considerably since that plan was developed. For one thing, Markham itself has grown significantly. So compared to when the plan was first developed, Markham population has grown by more than 100%. Employment has grown in Markham as a whole by more than 50%. The Markham Centre population grew from 0 to 11,600, and there are now many employees working in this area. So who lives in Markham Centre? Well, looking at the demographics compared to the rest of Markham, Markham Centre is growing very, very quickly, much more quickly than Markham. The population there is younger. There are smaller households, fewer children. The population is more highly educated. There are more immigrants and recent arrivals in Canada, and a higher percentage of the population are Mandarin and Cantonese speakers. So at the what we need to establish is a comprehensive plan moving forward. Markham Centre is a work in progress. It's not completed yet. It's only partially completed. And it's really important to emphasize that. There's still quite a bit of undeveloped land. And even with proposed developments, there's still a lot of land that remains to be developed. So there's a lot of opportunity to think again about what we want to see and to improve what's going to happen in Markham Centre. So an updated transportation system, the mayor talked about this. The road system has been going through. So here's Enterprise Boulevard. It's a little bit different than the straight line shown in the original plan, but that accounts for topographic issues and rail crossings and floodplain issues. But the key elements for the success of Markham Centre are public transit. The GO station is about to become a provide a two-way service to Union Station. And so it's being upgraded. The Viva network, the BRT is going to be extended to connect with the GO station. The alignment of that is still a little bit up in the air. We think we can help influence that to make the GO station a true mobility hub, a place where different types of transit come together. And then there's the 407 Transitway, which the province has been working on, and which now sees a stop within Markham Centre. And that too there's a plan for it, but we're hoping that we can influence where that stop is and how it goes through Markham Centre. The recreation facilities and the parks systems, well, there have been local parks added as development has happened. But one of the things that has still to be added are larger recreational facilities or larger recreational fields. And this will happen as development occurs and as we move forward with the Markham Centre progression, evolution. There are community facilities that have been provided, as I mentioned, are very large facilities. So like the Pan Am Centre, the YMCA, Bill Crothers High School, there's the Flathead Theatre. They're located kind of at the edges of Markham Centre. We think that the real success of Markham Centre will be to make these central regional facilities that are really accessible by transit, but also to provide those local facilities that I talked about, the schools, the daycares, the community clinics, that sort of thing. Build Form 2 has been a little bit different. Some of the buildings are in different locations. A lot of the buildings are taller than originally anticipated, and a lot of the proposed developments are considerably taller. And of course, with Buttonville Airport being decommissioned at some point, there's a lot of pressure for even taller buildings. And so we need to take into account all of these pressures, the additional development, the additional height, and kind of assemble all of that and figure out how to make most sense of it, figure out where the highest densities make sense and how to service Markham Centre with all of the things that we've been talking about that are necessary for secondary plan. So we've gone a long way. So from farmers' fields back in before the first plan was initiated, to the 1994 plan by Duane Platter and Zabra, and then to where we are today. A lot has changed, a lot still remains to be done. And we need your help in order for us to move forward. And I'm really looking forward to the breakout sessions and the conversations that each of you are going to have in those breakout sessions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. All right, we're just going to end the poll that was started earlier and share the results. All right, so here are the results of the poll you completed prior to John's presentation. Keep in mind that more than one answer could be selected. I see that almost half of you, 42%, live here in Markham Centre, while just over a third, 34%, are property owners or represent them. About a quarter of you work here in Markham Centre, 26%, or hang out here, 20% shop, and 9% visit friends or family here. Scrolling down to look at the second question, it looks like most of you are new to this project and haven't participated in other engagement activities so far. So welcome, we're really glad you're here today. A third of you follow the project website on Your Voice Markham, and some of you have posted on there, engaged in our social media accounts, attended a pop-up last year, and attended a public meeting for development applications in Markham Centre. Stop that there. So we have some time reserved now to provide clarification on any questions you might have from John's presentation about the secondary plan update. We do have some questions that already came in, but if you wish to ask a question, please write your message in the Zoom chat and send it to the user labeled Ask a Question. If you'd like to ask your question verbally, you can indicate this in your message to that participant just by sending your full name. And I will call on your name and your microphone will be unmuted when it is your time. If you prefer to remain anonymous and have me read your question aloud, please type your question into the Zoom chat to that Ask a Question. We have about 15 minutes reserved, so please keep your questions short to allow as many people as possible to share and speak. And after this, we'll have a short health break and then breakout sessions where you can share your feedback and ideas with our facilitators. So on to our first question. This is from Kate Cooper, and I'll invite our friends here on the line to unmute Kate so she can ask her question out loud, please.
Thank you, Danielle. I appreciate it. And thank you, John, for your presentation. I'm happy to be part of this session. You touched on this a little bit already, but I'm wondering how you're going to deal with the challenges of providing an intricate and connected trail system for both pedestrians and cyclists that does require crossing or crossings of the Rouge River and the associated valley lands. And will that build upon the existing Markham Centre Greenlands strategy?
Thank you, Kate. I guess I'll direct that first to John if he'd like to respond, and if any others wish to hop in afterward, they can do so. John?
Yes, so there is a separate and parallel study that is being done. I think the mayor mentioned it. It's a study of what the optimal trail system should be for the area. We hope to be able to influence that. We are working very closely, and they are working very closely with the Toronto Region Conservation Authority to make sure that the environmental integrity of the valley is maintained and that the various ecological resources are protected and preserved. So the hope is that we can provide more access to the natural areas, but in a very respectful and considerate way.
Thank you.
Would anyone else on the call like to add on? Perhaps Parvati or Stephen, if you'd like to add on, please feel free to unmute and follow up on that.
No, that's okay, Daniel. That was a good answer. Thank you, John.
Great. I actually see we have another question that came in from Kate Cooper right afterwards. So if we'll just unmute her and you can ask your next question. We'll go in order of what we've received the questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Danielle. John, again, you did touch on this, and I had typed these questions before you had gone through the presentation, but I was curious about how you're going to tackle the provision of community services and facilities. I know that the existing Markham Centre secondary plan was a bit lacking in that area, given what's transpired in the city since then and how much development is actually in the pipeline. How will that be tackled and how will it be integrated into the planning approval process? And it may be way, way too early for me to be asking this, but.
Well, I think I don't think it's too early to be asking it. I think the simple answer is we're going to do it, but the more sort of involved answer is that the community services and facilities, particularly the local services and facilities, are currently being planned. There are some areas which have been reserved for local facilities, for local schools, particularly near the intersection of Warden and Highway 7. And so what we'll be doing is working with that and building on that as new neighborhoods come forward. The real challenge with community services, particularly local, is not just how you integrate them, but how you coordinate the delivery of those services as development occurs. You don't want them too late, but you can't have them too early. And so the timing is a bit difficult and challenging.
Great, thank you very much.
All right, our next question from Brian Corson, ARA. Is the intent for this area to be multicultural or primarily unicultural? Anecdotal evidence is showing a strong leaning towards unicultural. This is not only for residential, but also commercial. So I think this is speaking to diversity in terms of population, in terms of the development. I guess I'll speak to you again, or throw it over to you again, John, if you'd like to speak to that, and if others would like to join on.
Well, clearly the objective is to build on Markham's multicultural heritage. I mean, that, Markham is one of the most multicultural places in the GTA, in fact, in Canada, and it's very proud of that. And I think with Markham Centre, we're seeing the same thing. We're seeing a real mix of people from different backgrounds, from different locations around the world moving in here. There are more immigrants and more recent arrivals than elsewhere, and I think that speaks to the multicultural character of the area. I don't see that there's any planning that undermines that, or that we can do that's going to make a difference in the opposite direction. This is clearly an objective of Markham and an objective of the plan.
Okay, our next question from Richard Trenquada. I understand the province will impose a greater population requirement for Markham, and that Markham intends to increase the density for Markham Centre beyond the 40,000 previously stated to deal with the increase. Can you please explain?
Sorry, what was the last part of the question?
Just explain how Markham will be increasing the density for Markham Centre beyond the 40,000 previously stated. So a greater population requirement.
I think the population numbers with the proposed developments are already nearing what very more than what was anticipated. So I don't think that there will be any difficulty myself in reaching the growth plan targets, population targets for Markham Centre. The key is to do it in a way that respects the environment, that creates amazing places, amazing neighborhoods, and that creates a place that people can really get excited by. And so we will have to take those population targets into account. And Markham Centre is a great place. It's an urban growth center, and it's a great place for that population to locate.
Thanks. So our next question, is there a plan to build structured parking for Aviva?
I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's best positioned to speak to that. If someone on the line wishes to unmute and the mayor.
Sure. Okay.
Yes. And you're good to go. I think you're unmuted.
Yep, thank you. So I think the question was any structured parking for, I believe it was for Viva, unless they were asking about Aviva, which is the insurance company. Maybe I'll answer both. So let's start with the Viva transit system. We have, the region has acquired property to look at potentially a joint development where there could be both development and some structured parking for the Viva transit system itself. Obviously, and I don't know, Danielle, if you could put the map back up, probably the one that's, if you can't, don't worry about it, because most on the call are familiar with the area. But certainly when you take a look at the existing GO station, There was and will continue to be, and I think we have to actually look at even greater possibilities. But I'm just trying to read that. Okay, so maybe you could just show the goal line with your mouse if you can. It's a little faint on this, but actually show the go station. That would be really better. So right, you're almost there. Right there, perfect. Yeah, so that's the go station, and certainly as that area gets redeveloped, both from a transportation point of view, ultimately the rail line and the Viva system, again, there could be different iterations of this, but certainly that will probably be, when we say below ground, it's not being moved, but development will happen over the tracks and over the site. And so some of that activity will be, underground from the new elevation. So there'll be ample parking there as well for both GO and for Viva Transit. And then, as I said, the region has also acquired another piece of land within Markham Centre to potentially provide some parking structure, but not just a parking structure on its own. It would be in conjunction with development. The other aspect of this too, and we said it when the Regional Express Rail, the RER, was called when it was first introduced, the increase of GO trains obviously will service this area with the 40,000 people living and the 40,000 people working, but that GO station is intended to obviously serve the broader community. It does today, and it will continue to serve that function, particularly when it goes to 15-minute service. So with the increase in the availability of rapid transit to not only downtown, but to other parts of the GTA, it's going to be more attractive. We have begun the conversation. It doesn't make sense for us to build a parking structure for a parking spot for one car that's probably north of $40,000 per spot, maybe more so if depending on the complexity of the construction, when those cars are literally coming from households that are less than 10 minutes away. So it's how we feed that GO station. We're looking at last mile. We're looking at a potential pilot project of a driverless vehicle to service the area. So yes, we're looking at parking structures for public transit, but we're also recognizing that there's just no way that it's sustainable when you can leave your car in your driveway. We don't have to spend the 40,000 plus per spot to build you a parking spot for a car that sits there all day long. We'll continue to look at service improvements and technology, the availability of technology that gets you to that station without having to jump into your car in the first place. Now, in terms of Viva Insurance, and it, again, it's a little faint on mine, but maybe you can see it a little better. So just down a bit more, it's east of Warden, right? Okay, so right at Birchmount and north of the 407. You might not be able to see it that well from this map. So if the question was about a Viva Insurance and the ability to provide structured parking, actually, when you take a look at that whole area from Birchmount all the way over to Warden, lots of parking lot there right now, surface parking lot. And as time goes on and we include more buildings, there will be a consolidation of parking structures to service the employment areas that are there. And so maybe I won't capitalize it right now, but it's a question that I know landowners have posed to us. And when they asked it, again, back when we first developed this plan in the early 90s, you look at the plan and obviously you appreciate certain levels of it, and then you sort of get the reality of it starting to emerge. This is an area that, and this applies to the whole Markham Centre area, one of the mistakes maybe, and this is a question that doesn't have to be answered tonight, but I think has to be part of this process. If we want truly an integrated downtown area, is it a mistake of the plan that what we did back originally to have put a lot of the employment in one corner of the plan, so that you get this concentration of employment in one area, the need perhaps for cars versus maybe if it was spread out and maybe a little bit closer to the GO station, you wouldn't need as much parking. And two, after 5 o'clock, when this whole area gets developed, are we going to end up with the scenario that exists today west of Woodbine, where during the day, lots of activity, you see people coming and going, and then after 5 o'clock, you could shoot a cannon down Allstate Parkway, and you wouldn't hit anybody, and you've got all this sort of dead zone. And is that smart to have what I'll call a dead zone within an area that's your downtown? So that's not necessarily to be answered tonight, but it's something we can contemplate. But if the question was about Aviva insurance, over time, yes, those parking lots will disappear and there'll be structured parking to service not only Aviva, but other employment and other uses in the area.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next question submitted by Arjun Bhatia. To what degree is Markham Centre and its major buildings using the existing district energy infrastructure, and are there plans to expand it, using it in favor in individual buildings, heating and cooling? Not sure who best to speak to that, whether it's maybe Parvati or Stephen from the city.
Hi, Danielle. Thank you. I can try to respond to that. The plan is to have all the buildings in Markham Centre connected to district energy system. The buildings that exist today in Markham Centre are connected, and the idea is to expand. So as part of the secondary plan update, we are going to look at the capacity based on the population forecast and the densities that are going to be in Markham Centre. It's a very important component for Markham Centre. It is important to make Markham Centre as sustainable as possible. And we look forward to engaging district energy and any other systems to improve efficiency and energy, the sustainability in Markham Centre, and ensure that Markham Centre develops as a smart city.
Thank you.
Steve.
Danielle, can I just answer as well?
Yep, no worries.
Thank you. Hi, it's Stephen Liu, Manager of Central Districts, City of Markham. Just building on what Parvati had mentioned, the district energy infrastructure that we have right now is actually quite robust, and it's something that the city is proud of. Let's not waste it. Let's build upon it. So definitely, District Energy Markham is part of our TAC group, our Technical Advisory Committee group, and they have been engaged in this. So the goal is to connect future buildings to the infrastructure itself.
I'm not sure if either of you, Stephen or Parvati, would like to draw upon anything else that was said previously. If I didn't get a chance to ask you to speak, if there's anything further from a previous question that you didn't get to, I invite you to add on.
Thanks, Danielle. I want to build upon the question that Mr. Corson had noted. I believe his question was, is the intent for the area to be multicultural or primarily unicultural? Something about anecdotal evidence is showing a strong leaning towards unicultural. This is not only for residential, but also commercial. I just want to rest assured that to Mr. Corson is that the intent is definitely to have a multicultural downtown. Diversity is Markham's strength, and that's what distinguishes Markham Centre from other regional centers. I do acknowledge Mr. Corson's comment that his anecdotal evidence for the downtown could lean towards a unicultural environment, but the city continues to work hard with our private partners and among staff to ensure that that is not the case. And also understanding that the downtowns, any downtown, evolves over time. It is the policies that would enable the city to build on Markham's multicultural environment, to reflect that in our downtown. And given recent world events in particular, this is currently top of mind for the secondary plan update. With respect to commercial uses, We know that to infuse activity in any downtown, we need to include commercial uses and mixed use environments. But we also need office uses that will help animate our streets in Markham Centre all day, not just on weekends or weeknights. We want to avoid what Mr. or Mayor Scarpitti had mentioned, dead zones. So let's avoid that and move on and move forward on this.
And Danielle, I would like to add on a little bit to the question about community facilities that Kate Cooper had asked. How are we going to integrate that to the planning process? I also want to make a note of integrated leisure master plan that was recently approved by council, which is going to be the basis for our understanding of what the community facility needs are moving forward in Markham Centre. As Stephen mentioned earlier, along with diversity and encouraging commercial activity in Markham Centre, providing the right kind of facilities, whether it be community centers, spaces for active recreation, open spaces, parks, these are quite important to the success of our downtown. And our assessment through ILMP and other benchmarking will help us determine what type of community facilities are needed. And then that will become the basis for the review of future development applications and integration of community facilities into future development applications.
All right, thank you. Well, unfortunately, we've reached the end of our Q&A portion, but we thank you for all of your questions. There are at least 10 that we haven't gotten to yet. So we will post all questions with answers to Your Voice Markham. If you have additional questions, we invite you to visit Your Voice Markham and send an email to the Markham Centre team. The address is yourmarkhamcentre@markham.ca, and you can also find it on the Your Markham Centre page on the Your Voice Markham website. So we're going to allow for a 5-minute health break before moving to our small group discussion. So please feel free to stand up, move around, get a glass of water, and we'll see you back here in about 5 minutes at 8:17. Okay, everyone, welcome back. In a few moments, you'll be prompted by Zoom to join a breakout room led by a facilitator who will guide you through a series of questions and take note of your ideas and feedback. You'll be in a group with about 7 to 10 other people. You will not be recorded. You're welcome to turn on your mics and video in these breakout rooms if you wish. At around 8:40, you'll be prompted to rejoin this main room. Again, 5-minute health break, and then we'll come back together, start recording again, and review the key themes and points submitted by the groups. So in a moment, you should see your screen pop up inviting you to attend a breakout room. Welcome back, folks. Just waiting for others to join us from their breakout rooms. We are going to take a brief health break just to summarize these key takeaways. So if you need to use the restroom or get a glass of water, now's your chance. And as we wait for the other folks to come back into the room. If you had your video on during the breakout session, you wish to have it off now while we're recording, I invite you to do so.
Should have hit record after the break.
Are we back in the main room now, Danielle?
We're back in the main room now. We're just waiting for everybody to come back.
You know, I was just getting to the important point I was going to make, and you cut us off.
So I do invite everyone.
Good timing, Danielle.
So now that we're all back in this main room, I do invite everyone to turn off your mics because we're going to be back to having, 100+ people in here right now. We are going to take another quick health break just to allow the facilitators to finish typing up the key takeaways. We are recording again now that we're in this main room. So if you wish to have your video off, this is the time to do so. I think there are still some folks who are remaining in certain breakout rooms, I think. Yeah, so we're going to be sharing the key findings from the 3 questions you examined while the facilitators type up those final takeaways. This is a great chance to bathroom break, water break, and we'll circle back in a couple moments just as these final takeaways get put together into a shared document. We've got about 12 minutes left of the session. We're aiming to finish on time. See, almost all the facilitators have populated the shared document here. We have lots of responses for question 1, which is great. I recognize it was, a shorter breakout session as we anticipated because there were so many great questions. So we may not have to all 3 of the questions in your breakout session, which just shows there's lots more to discuss and definitely lots of engagement to come. As we said earlier in the presentation, there is on the Your Markham Centre page on Your Voice Markham, these questions will also be posted on there. So if you'd like to follow up on something you said or put something in your exact words, your own words, you can go on the Your Markham Centre website and respond to these questions directly, separate from this meeting today. So I think to wrap up here as these questions are coming in, I'll summarize some of these key takeaways that were coming across the groups. We had 10 breakout sessions with about 7 to 10 folks per group. And I'll kind of review sort of a summary of what we were hearing. The first question asked, how would you describe Markham Centre today? And, we heard there's a lack of connectivity. The area doesn't cohere as a whole. And that, the vision takes a long time to come to fruition, but it is happening. We heard that, there are linkages and points of connection, but it still remains a small community that has a lot of potential, but needs more growth. It was said that there's the right ingredients, transit, greenway, facilities, the university, but it is a place of evolution. There are attractions, but not enough to be considered a destination. But there is a lot of potential to be a 21st century city with a downtown. So a lot of these things we're seeing for question 1, it's evolving, it's a work in progress. We can maximize green space. It's a vibrant place that's growing and changing. There was discussion about lack of transit or feeling disoriented, difficult to cross certain roads, so needing more transit connections. But we heard there were wonderful facilities, great place to visit, a destination for shopping and restaurants. But again, this pedestrian friendliness and this connection. So much of what we were saying before, work in progress, but a lot of great ingredients and key landmarks and opportunities. The second question asked you, how would you like to describe Markham Centre in 10 to 20 years? So we heard vibrant, mixed use, high density, that's a good thing, a high-tech capital, good quality of life, good transportation facilities, a complete community with all amenities and facilities in place. So not just clusters of institutional, community, and commercial, but truly mixed use with schools, daycare, jobs, a mix of different people that live and work in Markham Centre, diversity attracting beyond the young population, a hub for entertainment, all-inclusive opportunities for small entrepreneurs, open spaces and amenities that attract them. Again, connection, vibrancy, a way to provide affordable housing, vibrant, lively, welcoming. So a lot of these positive words, a place to hang, a landmark destination, environmentally friendly, and a really firm identity that starts with Markham residents and gets residents exciting about, stepping out of their homes to do stuff in Markham instead of going to Toronto. Someone put that in one group. And our final question asked, how can Markham Centre be improved to achieve this vision? We heard the built environment that reflects diversity and identity through public art, landscaping, architecture, public realm, some sort of meeting space, whether that's a public square, not just a parking lot, but a place to hold festivals, events, businesses could host events. There's an example given about the Raptors when they had their championship, no obvious meeting place for that. Implementation tools to work with developers to achieve this vision for affordable housing, true mixed use, a question about the incentives, flexible spaces for live and work, as a large area, opportunity to experiment with technology and innovations, leveraging the GO line, creating multi-use hubs, really focusing on these tech city elements, smooth transitions between buildings, local shops and restaurants, planning through the lens of equity, community involvement, participation in the process like we're doing here today. And again, back to this connections between areas and, moving from a great vision to strong implementation and integration of uses. We see, no piecemeal planning and development. And again, going back to this Rouge River connection. So lots of variety we're seeing here among all these different things. We have so many great responses. If you missed me saying so earlier, on the Your Voice Markham page, these questions will be posted and you can type up your own, in your own words, your responses and add on to it. These are wonderful ideas. I do know that we have Councillor Ho, Councillor Lee, Councillor McAlpine here with us tonight. To close off, I'll allow each to share some brief closing remarks, and then I'll wrap things up here. I'll first, hand it over to Councillor Ho if you'd like to unmute yourself and say some brief words.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you, Danielle. Good evening. It's my great pleasure to be part of this virtual meeting on Markham Centre secondary plan. And also, thank you all for participating tonight and contributing to a lively discussion on the future of Markham Centre. We hope that you will continue to share your ideas with us as the city works to update the secondary plan. As discussed tonight, there are several opportunities to transition Markham Centre to an exciting and inclusive downtown that is a great place to for Markham residents and visitors to live, work, and visit. As all of us know, Markham Centre is a place of many things. It is a place of opportunities, a place of businesses, and a place of intensification, etc., etc. With the mobility hub around the GO train station and the York University Markham campus in place, we look forward to seeing a place of vibrancy and prosperity, and cannot afford to make any mistake on the urban design. So your voices and inputs are very important to us, and let's continue to work together to achieve this vision. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ho. Councillor Lee, I invite you to speak next.
Thank you, Danielle, and thanks for hosting this, and thank you, staff, once again, and well, thank you all of you for taking the time to attend this virtual meeting, the very first one, and well, actually, it's my great pleasure to be here, learning all these your feedbacks. Our vision here, well, for Markham Centre is to be a downtown destination that attracts Markham residents, visitors, and businesses. As we just heard, a lot of your feedback you're sharing. One of the key things that we should remember is how to set or keep the Markham Centre, the character of Markham Centre, which actually our group has been heavily discussing on this. And we need your help definitely during the secondary plan update process to ensure the evolution of Markham Centre reflects actually the diverse needs of a community. We want to hear from you more throughout this process, like what we did this evening. So, thank you once again for attending, and together we can make a greater downtown. Thanks again.
Thank you, Councillor Lee, and Councillor McAlpine, over to you now.
Thank you, and I'd like to also thank everybody who's joined us tonight, particularly the residents, both of Markham Centre and the areas surrounding Markham Centre. The majority of Markham Centre sits in Ward 3 in my ward, and so this is easily the top priority in terms of my thinking about the future of Ward 3, the future of Markham Centre. It will impact certainly the rest of the ward, but also all of Markham. And so we have, as I think one of my colleagues said, we have one chance really to get this right. So we have to think very, very carefully. Some of the comments that have been made already that Danielle sort of summarized, I think are all, I think I agreed with every one of them. And so I think there's a lot of really, really good ideas out there. The trick will be to get beyond sort of the platitudes and actually get into the nitty gritty of how do we actually make these things happen. And I think it's one thing to plan, and it's another thing to implement. And I think some of the implementation, to be really frank, to this point has not met expectations. So we do have a little bit of backtracking to do to make some corrections, I think. But largely we're dealing with a fairly blank canvas, which is really exciting. And so I really look forward to working with the community, with those living already in Markham Centre and those impacted by it surrounding Markham Centre to build something that we can all be proud of, that we can all enjoy, and create a community. I think in the end it's about a community, and I think too often we get hung up on particular buildings and forget about the kind of community that we're building. And so I look forward again, we're working with everybody to implement that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor, and thank you to everyone for taking time out of your busy schedules to participate this evening. You know, your feedback, your comments are critical for building a Markham Centre that's vibrant, that's connected, that has a mix of uses and people, as you echoed in your breakout sessions. So as you may know, this is the first in a series of virtual meetings this summer. Our next engagement session will be held 2 weeks from today on August 11th. So stay tuned to the Your Markham Centre page on the city's engagement website, yourvoicemarkham.ca, and on social media. If you have any other thoughts, there are opportunities to provide additional feedback on that website or through the email address listed on that website. We've got about a minute left, so we're finishing just on time. So thank you again, and we hope to see you soon. Please enjoy your evening, and thanks for your time today.